that they found. So basically what this is where jurisdictions allow developers, so real estate developers, to pay a fee in lieu of developing parks and open spaces as part of their development. So we know that, as part of, sometimes as part of master plans and zoning ordinances for residential areas in particular, like you can go through different neighborhoods and you see that there are parks or green spaces that are, embedded within those neighborhoods. So what these in lieu fees basically allow is for developers to exclude any of that green space or any kind of parkland from within a subdivision when they're building it. And so they are not doing anything with these data as part of the larger PAPREN zoning project, and they passed them along to us to see if it was something that we might be interested in analyzing for one of our parks and green space projects. And so we would also have access to, like, they've already matched the jurisdictions that are included within the within this data set with census data and some other measures. So like we wouldn't necessarily, like, I don't have access to those currently, but we certainly wouldn't need to go and collect a lot of other kind of demographic data for these jurisdictions. So if we wanted to do something descriptive with it, we would be able to get those, those measures from Jamie and her group at UIC in order to conduct an analysis. So really where we're at is kind of trying to figure out, specifically what we want to do. And I can share a little bit of a write-up that I got from Jamie with these data. I can read it to you, but it's probably just as easy for me to share it, and you can read it, take a minute to read it yourself, and you can have a little bit of a better description. So
and I think they were even offering to follow our direction with the analysis. If they would run the numbers, essentially. Is that?
No, I don't think that they would be doing the analysis for us. I think we would have to do the analysis ourselves. It's certainly a question that we can ask. But she passed the data along to us, and I don't know where she's at in terms of having anyone who could do the analysis.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe that was at that time then that could happen. I thought there was more than just this fee thing. I thought there was more data that we could have the option to use. Is that?
Well, you mean in terms of the actual zoning data?
Yes.
Again, we could go back to her. I mean, this is what she had sent previously.
But wasn't there a presentation that they made of the that there was more available as well, or that was just on their findings?
I mean, I guess how far back are you going? Because I don't know if I remember. I mean,
okay, no, just this from this year, earlier this year. But I'm trying to find it now, and I don't know where it is right now.
I mean, they've been doing a lot of analyses with the data that they collected, and they've been presenting at different conferences. But that's specifically on the analyses that they're doing for the funded project that they have as part of the
okay.
The center. So I'm not saying that we wouldn't have access to other data, Jeanette. I mean, it would be something that we would have to approach Jamie on. And I don't know if maybe she was talking about it on a call outside of the Parks and Green Space. Like maybe she was talking about it on equity, like one of the equity and inclusion calls or the larger steering committee call, but I may or may not have been on those calls. So
I'm trying to find what I'm thinking of. Yeah. All right. Well, this is at least the first one that's definitely available for us. So
right. And
a place to start.
And she did say that they have a lot, again, a lot of measures that they, or a lot of variables that they extracted from like, from census and ACS that they've mapped out to the zoning data. So it, like, we could use those to analyze specifically these measures that they sent to us. But this is all that I've got, the park in lieu fees, and then, again, they've got like this density bonus data.
Do we know how many cities or municipalities were included in the data set?
So, yeah, so it's 231 jurisdictions and it's 2,297 municipalities.
Okay.
Who was quick to do this? Who was quick to circle?
That's me, sorry.
No, that was perfect. That was.
I've done a lot of teaching on Zoom, so you have to whip out the pen and, you know.
You're quick.
Yes.
Now, while it's over 2,000, almost 2,300 municipalities that are in the data set, not all of them are going to have, like, not all of them have the park in lieu fee provision within them.
It's only in certain kinds of spaces, right? And more like is it in, it's not in urban centers, right? Or is it, or do you know anything about that?
Without looking at, I mean, more closely at the data, I wouldn't, but I mean, just based on how it's written, it sounds like it would be more relevant for subdivisions, which might be more in suburban areas or even rural areas versus urban areas.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Can you all help clarify the density bonus for me? So is this a bonus you get if you build a higher building and include open and green spaces?
Or it says desired community amenities, so I don't know if that's just green space or it's
Okay.
other things. It could be a park or a square or something. I mean, a park like a, yeah, I don't know.
It may vary across communities.
Yeah.
We don't have that data. I think that's something that they have that we could also use. So, I mean, I don't have necessarily any preconceived notions on how to set up an analysis with these data. But this is definitely something that we could, that we could really try and push forward as a project for our upcoming year.
And we need a project for this year. So.
Yeah, right. And we have data. So, I mean,
seems it's like, there you go. We should do that, but I understand it's not of interest to everyone.
So I guess, do people want me to keep sharing? I can stop sharing and we can have a discussion.
Can you send that around or maybe send it to Emily?
I can send it to Emily and Emily can share it. Yeah.
Send it. I mean, yeah, please. Thank you.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Emily, you can share it as part of kind of the notes from this meeting, because we clearly don't have everyone who's participating in our work group on the call today. It's a limited
Absolutely.
number. I mean, so the first question would be, for the people that are here, who might be interested in being involved in a project that would use these data? All right,
I would
so,
say I would be, I'm thinking in terms of, this is definitely a data set and a type of data that I've never worked with before. Um, and in a, yeah, policy level that I've never, or, like this particular policy is something I've never heard of or dealt with in terms of zoning at all. So, I'm saying in terms of expertise level, I'm hoping somebody else in our working group has expertise, is particularly in zoning law.
I mean, I've worked, I mean, Jamie and I ran we had a large NIH grant that collected the first iteration of the zoning data. So I'm very familiar with how we ran analyses with similar data. This is a particular provision that we didn't look at the first time around, but in terms of what we would how we would include it in an analysis. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a whole lot different than what I've previously worked with. So I mean, I would certainly be involved in the project. I don't have to be, I mean, I don't have to be the one leading it, but I can, but I would certainly want to be interested. Would work with it. Sandy, you said seems like it could be super helpful information for local parks, park commissions, boards and departments. Yeah, absolutely. So, trying to see, like, Russ, I don't think you said if you were interested, or Natasha, and you don't have to be interested. I don't want to put you on, like call you out, but, it would be helpful for us just to know like who to reach out to contact
You
about.
don't have to be on the calls you don't want to be on.
Yeah. There's that too, because mainly the only thing we're talking about today is going to be trying to move this project forward.
And we can have other projects as well.
Yeah.
But this is the time to bring them up because the cycle, whatever, is going to be ending in the end of September next year. And so we should have something to show for that. For this year. And so a project, this is good, and other projects are fine. If they don't have to be research papers, they could be meeting the other aims of our group, some statements, policy briefs, outreach of some kind.
Yeah, I think that's what I could help with is like on the translation side of it. So either if you all have like in a discussion part of it, you need some help with converting it to meaningful, insights for practitioners and professionals, I'm happy to help there. And of course, if there's another piece to this, like you just said, Jeanette, that we want to get out to the practitioner audience, we could help you with that.
And that would be great. Like, I mean, all right, assuming there's some results that are of interest, right? That's all predicated on that. The data hasn't been looked at, so we don't know what's out there. But assuming there's something and we can write something up, then there should be a companion piece that does go to the policymakers, that does translate it to how this can be used by you in your municipality or whatever. And that would be great to have. That could be another project, right? That's associated, ancillary, or whatever we want to call it.
Love it.
Be nice if the data set, I don't know if it does include any kind of the anticipated pool of money that they seem to bring in with these different fees. They seem like they do earmark the money for particular, very specific purposes. I'm assuming that that's also part of the data set as well. What those municipalities are using that money for and those funds for, I would hope. Okay, because the thing says something about the money from the fees goes to infrastructure in parks and green space. Is that, I might have misread that.
So this is the actual data. So this is basically all it's showing is the name of a we've got a FIPS identifier, what the jurisdiction is, and then the actual language that that comes specifically out of their zoning ordinance on the in lieu fees. And then specifically where they found it. And that's it. So this is what we've got.
So that's the
There-
language from the policy. Oh, I'm sorry.
You can go ahead.
No, that this is from the policy document from Lakewood City, California. Is that? Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, this was
Yeah,
an
it's the
abstract.
text that's pulled out.
Okay,
So this, and this would be the
This
data
was-
set we would be working from.
This is the data set specifically on this variable. Yeah.
Okay, so they do, it's how couched in here, the purposes of where those fees are gonna be going.
But it's
Why
gonna
was this one,
vary.
but it's
yeah,
gonna
I
be
mean,
different for each one, right? So
right.
that could
yeah.
be part of a project, is kind of teasing that piece out
Right.
from all these different policy, or all these different statements.
Right, we'd have to read through this and determine how we would want to potentially, create a variable for use in a quantitative analysis. Yeah, using that language. And Jamie also said that she would provide us with the density bonus measure too. So we could combine those two into one paper. And I would think that that data set would look similar to this, where it's going to basically have text that's pulled out for us to manipulate however we want.
yeah, it's, do we even know how many of, so the total data set was whatever, 231 municipal or jurisdictions and almost 2,000 something, municipalities. So do we know what percentage of those have these fees, or no, we don't even know that yet?
Well, I can tell you that there's 231 lines of text in this file. So that, I mean, of like 2,300, we've got about 10%.
Okay. Okay. So 10% of the municipality, or I can't remember. the
10% of the 10% of the the jurisdictions.
jurisdictions have these language of the fees used
Mhm.
in their policy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's not a huge data set.
No. So it's not like overwhelming, right?
Right, yeah, it's manageable, like that's manageable. Okay.
And I don't have the density bonus, so that maybe there's more in there, maybe there's not. I mean, that would be something that we would, I mean, if we're interested in combining them into one project, I can reach out to Jamie and get those data as well, so that we can see what they look like.
How much information do you get from, I'm unfamiliar with FIPS codes. Does that just give you the county and the state, or does that give you more like census tract? Is it more like a GeoID?
Well, my guess is the FIPS code ties specifically to the, most of these jurisdictions are at the municipal level, so it's probably a municipal level FIPS code.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it's possible that I'm looking, they all look like municipalities. If it was the county level, it would be a county level FIPS code, but they all look like they're at the municipality level, so the FIPS code should tie to the municipality. And we can certainly see, again, like my guess is I don't know for sure, but my guess is that any demographic data that would be available is going to be aggregated up to the municipal level then.
So we'd want information like population size, geographic size, perhaps if we're talking parks, percentage of the area that's already used as parks in the green space in the municipality.
So, I guess the next step would be, I mean, not one, I mean, one of the next steps, I can ask Jamie for a list of the variables, demographic variables that they already have constructed for the jurisdictions. And I can also ask her for the density bonus data.
Yeah, please. I think that's That's fine.
And then
That's
we
good to
can
know.
take, yeah, and we can take a look at what other measures they've already constructed that we could use in this analysis, and then we could see if there's something, I mean, they may not have everything that we want, so then it's gonna be a matter of, do we wanna try and collect more data, or do we wanna work with what we've got?
Well, if it does end up only being 10% of the whatever, then either way, it's not whatever, it wasn't huge, 231 or whatever.
Well, I guess it depends on if we're limiting it to just looking at those 231, or if we're doing a comparison across all of the jurisdictions
Right,
that
right,
we
right,
have
right, right.
information on, which is closer to
might wanna do that, yeah.
300. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Good thought. All right, so this probably next step should go to a subgroup meeting of those particularly interested in that. But for the wider group, this project aside, are there other areas that are hot on everyone's mind that could be used as a project for this group? Or anything left hanging from previously that has an add-on or a next step or something? Or I don't know, Andy, if you think of anything that was from when you were a fellow left over from our collective memory.
I'll look back at my notes too, see if there's anything.
I actually have a thought. I don't know how much we've actually looked at this particular thing, but in the community guide, the piece that came out about pairing, what was it, like physical activity and then like increasing access to parks, or like having activating activities that like all the different things. And it was like, hey, like here's steps for further research, and like here's like opportunities. I think like that's a really rich area to explore. I don't know how much we've talked about that.
I don't think we have.
I'm gonna go pull it up. Hold on.
The community, yeah, someone from the community guide or that was on that task force for those two, there were two ones that came out, Greenway and trail use, or Greenway parks and trail use. And one was just implementing them alone versus the one that was recommended was implementing along with other strategies to increase physical
Yeah, that was the
activity.
whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that you had to like pair them.
I
Mhm.
remember there was one PAPREN, it was like a grand rounds a while back, I think, was presenting just the task force findings, but there was real no discussion on a work group level, particularly around us and our work group, around any particular things that could come from that.
Yeah, in the I think in the write-up, I remember seeing it was like for future research. So I'm gonna see if I can find that while I'm on here.
So let's say again, that's the pairing of policies with, could you restate that, or Rich or Natasha?
It's mainly, I mean, the community guide really says that multi-component interventions are most effective.
Sure, okay.
So it's like pairing together different interventions that have been shown to be effective.
It's this when combined. So they have a separate one here for park, trail, and greenway infrastructure interventions when implemented alone insufficient. But they do say that when combined with additional interventions was a recommended strategy.
Yeah, so the list I see here, there's 4. It's community engagement, public awareness activities, programs that offer structured opportunities, so like walking groups, exercise classes, whatever. And then access enhancements, which are like transportation connections, street crossings, and expanded hours of operation.
You were just on that, Rich. If you go back, that was just that was on the main page. Oh, yeah, the snapshot. Go down a little bit. It was right there, I think. Right there. That's what just Natasha just read.
Yep.
Yeah, so I feel like this, I mean, if we're looking for alternative things, this could be a cool jumping off spot.
And I was also just looking at the evidence gaps they had Quite a bit.
I mean, I think any one of these would make an excellent additional project. It's just a matter of what people have bandwidth for and ideas for.
I was looking at my notes too from some of our other subgroup meetings, and we did have that one meeting with the two women from Salt Lake County, helping them with their survey. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
I believe Sandy. And did we ever get anything else from that? Was that just to help them, or was that to like get data and kind of maybe do something with? I'm trying to remember that
I think
meeting.
it was just to help them, but I think
Okay.
we were all ready to get the data and do something with them, but I don't.
I mean, that could be another avenue.
I
We
guess
could
we
reach
could
back
follow,
out to
we could
them.
follow up with them.
Yeah, having like a pre-existing relationship with them, we could see if they've now run that survey and see if they want to do any sort of analytics with it. Could turn into something.
So Natasha in particular, because you brought this up, and also you know, you're part of Safe Routes partnership. Like, I mean, I'm wondering, you know, are like talking about community engagement or engaging communities. I know you do that all the time with your work.
Yes.
I'm just trying to think like how we could potentially, again, develop some kind of project that we could move forward around one of these recommendations. And you're one of the few basically practitioners. The rest of us are researchers, really, who are
See, the
on
thing
the
is, like,
call.
you guys have skills that I don't have. So I
Right.
think I can give ideas around like, oh, like, what do we do? I think you guys have insight on like what makes it researchable, you know, like what is actually a useful way, like the thing to measure. Yeah, so as far as like, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're not. Please keep going.
Yeah, so thinking about like community engagement. Yeah, I do think that there is like really interesting stuff that could be done. I think like is the big limitation probably is like the data, right? Like the like we would probably have to do some kind of surveying or you know, like and that seems is that a big lift?
Yeah, especially we're unfunded, so.
Yeah.
And stretched thin, but if there's something that you know that's got some information that we can help look at, or I don't know, take it another step, something that's already there.
Yeah. You know, how about this? I'm gonna think about it a little bit more too. And maybe like kind of brainstorm some things that are like, okay, like what would already be existing, or like in our programming, like we're working with like one state in particular that I'm thinking about. They're working on like park access and some like safe routes to school work and like connecting with park people. So like I think there could be some stuff where the data may be being collected already. So I'll brainstorm.
So that's
I'll like go back to my
yeah, no, that's great. I think that's it. With so you're with the national partnership, or
yeah, so it's Safe Routes Partnership, yeah.
okay. Do you collect?
It was formerly the Safe Routes to School National Partnership, but I think we had a name change in the last 4 years, I think.
Right. Okay.
It's more about safe routes and communities in general now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I head up the Safe Routes to Parks work.
And you collect metrics.
Yeah, so I mean, we're certainly not researchers. We use it to it's metrics that are useful to tell a story, not necessarily
Well, here's the
that
thing.
are like
Yeah,
rigorous.
this is like, if there's the data to tell the story, is there some more, or you collect the information to tell the story, is there something that needs answering that you aren't able to tell the story because you don't have a clear picture of that yet? And maybe
Yeah.
that's, I don't know, maybe that's a gap that we could help
Yeah,
with.
maybe. What do you guys think of, like, what if we did a presentation on like work that we're doing coming up, and like maybe there would be opportunity to like because we're kicking off some work with communities across Colorado, and maybe there would be opportunity to like set up some data collection that would actually be useful for the group and like we would end up doing it, but it would be something that would be useful for the group. Like, and we could present on like what some of those opportunities might be.
Well, I think it'd be definitely interesting to hear you present on like your aspect of it. So yeah, count yourself in. But like, do you need to collect data for us? No, you don't need to do that. But if there's some gap that you see that we can help with, maybe we can help. But like, you don't have to do something for us. But if
we are collecting data anyway. It's just, it's just a matter of.
so, yeah, if it's not used to the full extent that you could use it, that's where we could come in.
Mhm.
So we
Yeah.
want to know what data that you do have, and then tell us what you are looking at. And then we could have, all these parks and green space brains here all
Yeah.
thinking, oh, you should look at that, or you should look at that. And then that's where we could be inspired.
Yeah. And I guess like coming back to the community guide, thinking about like, because like we do a lot of these things, and like we may not be collecting data on it, but I think something that could happen is we talk about what would be useful to collect.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I think what you would present on would be very interesting to this group.
Cool.
And similarly, I was just going to ask Natasha, what secondary data, basically to all of us, but what data do you already have that you already collected that we might be able to use, or maybe use a combination of some of the data that you have separately collected across different communities, to then look back at those questions and try to answer a question, another research question, because sometimes or often a lot of the heavy lift is that validation of a survey to collect the data, first pilot it and then go on to then collect a larger sample, if we're creating a survey for the first time. So if there are data sources that you already have, and maybe ways, I think, as Jeanette was saying, that you haven't analyzed them quite yet, we could probably think through how to use what you already have and help answer a question.
Yeah. I mean, so a lot of our more formal, I don't want to take up the whole time talking about
No, it's you're fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think like the most formal stuff that we do is like we survey participants. So the Safe Routes to Parks program is a technical assistance program, which means that like we just like coach people through doing some kind of project to increase access to their park. So that might be like putting in a crosswalk, and like so in a small sense that could be like, oh, like how many people yield to pedestrians like at this intersection, and then like before and after. But that's like a pretty small, like that would be like one instance where we're like, hey, like before this crosswalk, X number of people yielded, and then after the crosswalk, another X number of people yielded. And so that's like one kind of version where it's like, okay, this specific project, what happens? And then the other piece is like, okay, like knowledge and skills of participants, like before and after, like, oh, like I feel comfortable engaging with this process in my city because of like this training. So like, I would say like the internal stuff I'm assuming is like really more for us. The external stuff is like, I think what I'm kind of hesitant because it's smaller. It's very small scale. Like it's like
Right.
one community, one
What's
crosswalk.
on the statewide committee in Louisiana for the Safe Routes to School partnership. So I'm familiar with that. But like, so that, yes, that's what happens. But we can also look to say communities that have Safe Routes to School partnerships saw a reduction in traffic deaths over whatever, a
Yeah.
year. And so now you're not just looking at one community with one sidewalk, but yes, that's what makes it up. But now you're looking at X number of communities that have these partnerships, and we can look at sort of macro level, sort of a bird's eye view. So now you've got these policies in these states and in communities. We can look at it by state, by municipality, big, you know, we can divide that up by density or not. And then we could look at other things with that, just big picture. And then small
Yeah.
picture, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
If
Yeah. I'm just, my brain is like moving. I'm trying to
no,
like,
no, I know it's a lot, and I don't mean to put pressure on you. You just
yeah.
sparked some interesting, thoughts, I think, in me and some of the others here that I think we'd be interested in working with you to think about what we could do with the data that you have. We just need to know. I mean, even the stuff that you mentioned, one sidewalk was, so you've got like how many projects in your state or in the city that are working on these small projects. So that's just one, two, that's very simple data that you already have if you're funding them. And then
Yeah, and I think the other piece about this is like we're kicking off projects right now, and I think the best time to think about sort of measurement is before you start doing anything. So I think that would also be worth thinking about.
Yes, I agree. So I don't mean to pressure you and responding to all these questions that we have, but I think we're interested in hearing more and perhaps seeing what could come of that, if you're willing to put a presentation together.
Yeah.
All right, Emily, we'll follow up with you to see when.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was gonna say a monthly presentation would be really good.
Yeah, probably good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well, so it sounds like we might have two ideas for projects going forward, which is the main thing that we were going to talk about today. I don't know. I mean, are there other ideas, other thoughts that people have that they want to throw out?
I had one. I kind of completely slipped my mind. I have a colleague here at App State who is part of the American College of Sports Medicine, a working group that they have started that's looking at some different national data sets, one from the Trust for Public Land that I put into the chat, as well as a couple of CDC data sets on parks. And mostly city parks, but they also have some other geographic areas as well in terms of some of the CDC. The Trust for Public Land is just city parks, but I think CDC has some available data sets as well. But anyway, this working group from ACSM is trying to start working on this, but they seem very interested to work with folks that have a little bit more expertise, particularly in parks and green space. So my colleague just kind of came to me with the idea of us partnering with ACSM and this working group to maybe see what we can do that way. And another possibility to kind of get that going, if we want to maybe explore that a little bit, is for them to do a presentation to our group 1 month on what they're doing and what their purpose is of this working group.
I don't know if this would work or not. I'm just throwing this out here as I just clicked on the link, and basically it's like how much, first thing that comes up is how much is invested in city parks each year. I'm just wondering if maybe Trust for Public Land, some of the publicly available data they have here might also match up with the In-Lieu the In-Lieu fees that we have, and maybe we can kind of merge that in with the policy data, and maybe there's something there. Just a thought. It may or may not work. It just kind of popped out the minute I looked at some of the data that they have on this webpage.
The only limitation to this data set is it says it's the nation's 100 most populous cities. So it wouldn't be suburban areas. It would be metro areas. It sounds like. I'm not positive about that, but yeah. But what I was made aware of with this working group was that there are some data sets that expand out from just metro 100 most populous cities. The CDC has some data sets. I'm not exactly sure what those are, but I can get more information on some of those data sets. With similar things, I think they're kind of looking at that investment, acreage, amenities piece with the CDC data set as well.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good. I'm sure there's going to be some overlap with these cities with the data that we got from Jamie. I mean, that represents basically the 200 most populous counties in the US, which are going to include some of these cities. So it may not be a perfect overlap, but it's still some of these data could work well with what we get from Jamie. And it looks like, if I'm looking at this correctly, they have all of the city park facts in Excel spreadsheets that can be downloaded right off their website. So it could be promising. Regardless, I think working with ACSM sounds like a fantastic idea, Rich.
Okay. So Emily, I'll get you in contact with that working group. Do you think the idea of having them do a monthly presentation as well on a separate month?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Then I'll send along that information to you.
Thank you. So what are the logistics for working on these projects moving forward? Would we meet a set number of times? It looks like everyone on this meeting at least expressed some interest in working on the park in lieu fees project. So I don't know if we want to schedule a follow-up meeting now or
Yeah, we need to
have a
get started
separate-
on it. Yeah. And I don't know if you want to put in the minutes, like, to let everyone who wasn't here know if they want to join that we'll be doing something separate. But yeah,
Absolutely.
another follow-up meeting so we can look at the data, the variables, and think about how we want to create a guide to code or whatever we're going to call it, to abstract the particular data points and code that a certain way.
Yeah, I think we should try and meet early in January to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I agree.
For those of us, I think those of us who are on the call were all the ones who said they were interested. I mean, we can do it a couple of ways. Do we want to just hold another call? Not on the last, obviously not on the last Monday of the month, but at 11 a.m. Central Time, early in January, because obviously we're all available at this time and it just might make it easy to do it that way. Does that work for people? I see
Yeah.
most people nodding yes.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
And I can send out a poll for maybe which, I mean, do Mondays work typically best for everyone?
For the larger group meeting, that's a good question. I'm gonna say, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I
the
don't
answer
know
to
if
that.
it does for the larger group meeting. Yeah.
But it's a
Okay.
good, new year, new semester, let's pick a new time kind of thing. It's perfect time to do that as we start to think about our schedules.
Yeah, Emily, I'll send you over kind of the stuff we talked about before last session too, so you can kind of get an idea of what we were thinking.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna throw out a date. Should we reconvene specifically this smaller group to talk about moving forward the in-lieu fee analysis at 11 a.m. Central, January 8th?
Hold
So,
on, maybe.
maybe.
Wait, I mean, I gotta get my.
I'm like the only one who doesn't need to look at their calendar right now. I'm open. I'm good.
You never know, though. A lot can happen between now and then, Andy.
Yeah, no,
Right.
the 8th works. The 8th works for me. Count me in.
Is it a bad day for anyone who's on the call? If not, Emily, could you set up the Zoom and send it out to all of us for the 8th at 11 a.m.?
So if Emily, are you gonna make that? Because like, if that's the UMass Zoom link, should we use that or should we use like one of our Zoom links? How does that work? Do you know, Emily?
It's just, I mean, the Zoom link is already set up, so we're free to use it. Like it wouldn't interrupt any of their other meetings, like it's our Zoom link.
But it's all,
So
because it's the Monday at that time. Okay.
yeah, so we can certainly use it if there's no issue with it.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Great. All right. Any last thoughts about work group meetings? So in subsequent meetings next year, we'll talk about what Natasha spoke about and Rich's ACSM data. We'll try and set up some dates for that. So hold tight for more information there. And I wanted to leave some time open for open mic. So if anyone has any thoughts, Russ did leave something in the chat. He said, thanks to all who submitted their ALC abstract proposal, which were due on Friday. We may have an opening for Parks and Recreation area on the program committee. So I'll keep you posted if anyone on this call or work group isn't interested in serving. So, and I can reach out to Russ if anyone wants to message me personally if they're interested in doing that. I can connect you. Any other things for our next meeting?
I just wanted to say hi to everyone and thanks for having me in this work group. Yeah, it's nice to meet everyone.
Nice to see you, Sandy. You presented to us, was it last month? I don't know, October, September. When did you present? You presented, right?
I haven't. No, I'm brand new to the work group.
Well, then wait, you were in another group because we know you. So you're not.
I was in the grand rounds.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
then
attended the.
maybe
Oh,
that's,
well, do you want us to introduce ourselves?
yeah, like I thought we knew you. Like we know you, Sandy. I read your papers. You sent those around and I was like, yeah, you should be part of this group. So
Oh, I did send out an email. Yeah. I'm like,
no,
hey, how do I?
and you sent your papers too. They were
Oh,
cool.
I did. Yeah. Like, hey.
Did you? I read that. Whatever.
Maybe.
Anyway, welcome.
Yeah.
Let's chat. So I'll go first since I'm talking. Jeanette Gustat, one of the co-leads. I'm at Tulane University. Yeah, I'm an epidemiologist and look at social and physical determinants of health and built environment included in that. Anyway, sorry, Sandy, go next.
Yeah, hi, Sandy Slater. I'm at Concordia University. I am also one of the co-leads, and my research my background's health policy, public health, and health policy and analysis, and my research focuses on how policies and changes in the built environment influence physical activity for the most part.
I'm the third co-lead of the working group, Rich Christiana. I'm at Appalachian State University, and research mostly focuses on strategies for getting youth and families outdoors for time spent in nature, as well as nature-based physical activity.
Awesome.
Can go. I'm
Yeah.
Carissa Smock. Also involved in the American Public Health Association, chaired that group, and now I'm a liaison back to the UPHA at large. But my research interests have been nature-based health interventions as well. And then a few years ago, started also working on some safe routes to school. So some of our projects sound really interesting to me.
Hi, Sandy. I'm Andy. I'm the past fellow. So before Emily was the fellow, I was the fellow before. I'm currently unaffiliated, as in I don't have a job. which is fine. It's gonna work itself out eventually. I just graduated from Tulane with my MPH, and so interests include parks and built environment. And then I really like doing some like GIS work stuff right now that I've been working on for a little longer than maybe I'd like to. Jeanette's smiling because she knows. But interest in all of this stuff as well, but adding in that GIS flair, I think is something that I like.
And I could go last. I'm Natasha. I work at Safe Routes Partnership, which means that I don't do research, but I do a lot more of like the practitioner side.
Right on. Thank y'all. I think I've gotten confused with some. I've been in a few of the PAPREN groups, and I'm like, which one's which? So,
Happy to have you, Sandy.
You want to introduce yourself a little bit more, Sandy?
oh, I work at Northern Arizona University. I was a practitioner for a lot of years, and I'm a new academic, so learning that side of it. And had just heard about this group. A longtime friend works at the CDC and said, hey, have you heard of this? So yeah.
Cool, thank you. Well, welcome. I'm sorry, maybe because we've been in other groups together, so.
Right.
I mean, other PAPREN things, so maybe that's where I saw you. Anyway, welcome. And it's time. So we've got our next meeting on the 29th, and then notes will go out and we'll reconvene on the 8th on the project.
Yep.
In lieu fees.
Good to
Thank
see
you. Happy
everyone.
holidays, everybody. Have a
Yeah,
good
happy
break.
holidays.
Hope you have some time off to rest.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Yep. Bye.